Welcome, welcome, welcome once again into the room with a special agenda. And we are going to be discussing something that many of us deal with. Most people have some form of guilt for different things that have happened in life that it feels guilt is a form of helplessness. That is the definition of it. Feeling that you are responsible for situations or things that have happened with different individuals or things that have happened with other people that we weren't even involved in, perhaps. Um, in the mental health community, there are lots of things that happen with our loved ones, particularly in situations where people commit suicide. Feeling free to understand that you may not ever get an answer to what happened, and you're not responsible for someone else's thought process or things that may have occurred surrounding that because you're not even sure what it is you did not know. People are more secretive than we realize in life. And oftentimes we struggle with hearing that and understanding and accepting that other things happen, things that may happen to our children that we did not know, things that may happen with the ability to be able to help someone, not just surrounding that, but so many other things in life, particularly when we are considering dealing with helping our loved ones in ways that we feel we should be able to, or they think that we should be able to. Oftentimes, guilt is really associated with what others think or what we think that they're thinking. Many times, they're not looking at it in the way that we are at all. Um, for me, the bigger thing for that happened that I still deal with, and this is something that I don't discuss with many people, but other people are dealing with it too, is when my father's health started to go poorly, and him not being direct with me and telling me what exactly was going on. In a lot of ways, when I finally did find out what was really happening, in some ways I felt like I should have known. I should have saw. I should have saw through what he wasn't saying. He was telling me, but he wasn't really clear on what was truly happening to him. What the doctors actually said. He made jokes about it. He even seemed upset at one point that they even suggested the illness that he had was real. And I did not see through the fact that um, he was trying to give me a hint. He was trying to give me some cues, and I did not pick up on it. I actually went along with what he was saying without realizing he was afraid. He was afraid to be dealing with it alone. And essentially, because he did not tell me and I did not pick up on it, um, he was alone. He had so much on him, the responsibility of helping other family members within his own family. And he did not tell people that, for a lot of people, when he did give them hints about what was going on, they thought he was making references to other conversations, so they were offended. And for me, it took me a while to realize that he felt like he was burdening me, so he did not directly tell me. He wanted to give me a hint without actually telling me because he felt guilty himself about the possibility of leaving me with the burden of caring for him, which would have been my honor and my privilege to take care of my father. I love my dad. You have many, and he passed in December of 2019. But you have many instances like that, and many people who are dealing with those things because they feel like they should have known, they could have done more. And in fact, those particular situations for instances they had no control over, it would never went differently because the individuals involved did not want it to go differently. And for a large bit of time, and today, even now, I have some struggles with that, which causes so much anxiety. It consumes much of your thought process. It interrupts so many things that you could be doing better, or things that you need to be doing. Um, Many times there are people who have situations that you do know about, and family members, friends. They seem okay, and other people think, I don't know how they got through it, and they're sitting. It appears others sit in judgment of them, thinking that that person has cleared themselves of it and they're fine. And then you see little hints of things that they're struggling with, ways that they are trying to medicate or deal with the problem. In some people's instances, it may be overeating. You start to notice that they're eating a lot, or they may not be eating at all and they're losing a lot of weight, or they may start self medicating, meaning they may start taking um, illegal street drugs, or they may start to drink more. And that's something that you never noticed in their character before. You start to notice other things that are happening that you never realized or even made the connection that that's why those things are happening. Um, Oftentimes, because we hold on to those things, it weighs you down. And not speaking to the proper individuals to help you with that, it makes it harder for you to get through day to day life. People need more attention than they ask for sometimes. The hardest thing for many people is to ask for help when they need it, or to even acknowledge that pride can be a bad thing. It's wonderful to be prideful in some things, self direction, persistence. Those are great things to be um, persistent in. However, it's important that we realize it's okay to reach out when we need to. I had a really bad habit when I was younger that even if I was 1 cent short, I'm that person that if it was for school for lunch and I was 1 cent short, I would miss lunch because I could not make myself ask or allow someone to give me 1 cent. Literally 1 cent. I'm that person that would hold up the lunch line looking for a penny, or the grocery store where everybody plying your bill because you are digging around for 2 pennies because you can, and the cashier is saying it's fine, I can give you the 2 cent. But instead of accepting that help so you could move along, so you can move forward, the thought of receiving any form of help consumes you. And for me anyway, I don't know how many people have that type of personality where they don't mind giving help, but they don't want help, which in a lot of ways hinders your personal day to day function, growth, happiness, having hope. And oftentimes it comes out in other ways, that stress, that anxiety, that frustration of feeling guilt for whatever may have happened, um, can consume you to the point that you are acting out in other ways. If you're not dealing with it in one way or another, whereas you're not getting any help and you're not medicating in another way, other ways it comes out as people lashing out. They lash out. They lash out in anger and frustration. But really, what's happening is they're still consumed with that weight on them of not having let go of things. Oftentimes, there have been instances, there are some people that I know and love a great deal of things, something had happened to someone that they were caring for. And they often say, "Oh, I'm fine. I forgave myself." But you could see it in their everyday life that what was happening was it was eating them alive. They started to come undone in other ways because there were things that, in some ways, they were struggling with other things and they never said that they were having a hard time. And oftentimes, when people do not say anything about what they're personally dealing with, we are of the assumption that they are okay. No matter what we see, and particularly in the culturally, in the Black community, you are encouraged to be strong without seeking help. Rather than it is almost acceptable in one's mind to self medicate than to go to a proper doctor or physician, psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, so that you can get the help that you need so that you can find the root of what is eating you alive, literally. Because oftentimes it starts to not just affect you mentally. Mentally can actually affect you physically. You will begin to have anxiety attacks and not know what they are. I remember I had a really bad one once. I was, oh wow, my nephew was maybe 2, and I don't know what, I was at work, and then it literally took me to my knees. It took me to my knees. I literally went to the office and started to call everybody that I knew to see if I was sensing something, if something was happening. Was something happening to, had something happened with my husband or my parents or my nephew? I did not know, but nothing was happening at that moment. But I was having anxiety, I think, over the stress of not being to be able to be more help to someone who needed it, but not addressing it only made matters worse. Having that anxiety attack. Fortunately, I wasn't somewhere where I was in a dangerous situation while I was driving, or because there are people who've had accidents like that. And you literally can have a real heart attack or a actual stroke from not getting the help that you need because it starts to wear on your body. And it can be draining. We need to make sure that we let our loved ones know how important they are to us, but how much you're important to yourself. Make a list of the things that you can control and the things you can't control. And then once you sit down and address those concerns on paper first and in prayer and go, I've done all that I can do in this particular situation. Will my being frustrated over, will my holding on to this make it better? Many times, guilt is actually not the fault that we think it is. This is not ours alone. There are things that are involved that we were not participants in, but not getting the help that we need so that we can let that go, so that we can be honest with ourselves. Because if God is willing to and loving enough to forgive us, it is important that we are willing to forgive ourselves, because some things won't, holding on to it won't make it better. It won't improve it. It won't change it. And holding on to it affects not just you, it affects your family members. And if you have a mate and your children, and you haven't given yourself the freedom to let go of it. Every morning, you should say a prayer of appreciation and a prayer of forgiveness for yourself. And understanding that even if there were things that you may have done that you did not intentionally do, because things are, advice is given sometimes that may ruin something for someone else accidentally. Gave good, we thought was good advice, but it wasn't scriptural advice, or it wasn't advice that was intended to cause harm. If we don't take the time to let go of it mentally, let it go like a balloon, because if you hold on to it, it will weigh you down more than it will ever help. And understanding that certain situations that happen in the mental health community, there are things that you won't have answers to, and you're not particularly involved in. And because you know that, you have to be honest with yourself and say, it's okay. I'm okay. And we will get through this. Take time to love each other, because every day is a gift. And even if it did not go the way that you wanted it to go, even if things were not what you hoped that they would be, and you didn't do what you felt was your best in that moment, it's another opportunity to do better for yourself and for others at another time. And if we make more mistakes, that's okay. Not because we said so, but because our Creator did. You all love each other because it's something that we should do, and we all need it. And be kind to each other, even if people aren't kind to you, because it's a choice. Y'all have a wonderful day.